Mega Man 2. When debating with other nerds about classics from the 8-bit era, it will almost certainly come up in the conversation at some point. The first Mega Man title wasn't exactly a rip-roaring success, probably due in some part to its truly accursed US box art. Or box doodles, as I would call it. But the developer put all their adenosine triphosphate into the sequel, and a certified hood classic was born, the first of a whopping 5 sequels on a single system, the NES. But while nearly every Mega Man entry in its massive 100-game-plus catalog has its fans, titles like Mega Man 2 frequently top the list in popularity, like the whipped cream you lick off a pie while nobody's looking. But is Mega Man 2 overrated? Is it given undue credit and attention due to its pioneering work within the series? Or is there that something special that makes it transcend time and space? An inherent quality that gives it a distinctive flavor even 100+ sequels later? Well, let's hop in and find out. Right off the bat, the game pulls you in with its intro sequence, as the game dares to tell an actual story during an era where reading inaccurate instruction booklets was basically a requirement. In a mere 5 lines of text, we're told that after Mega Man kicked Dr. Wily's keister, the mad scientist was kinda PO'd and created 8 of his own bots to fight Little Boy Blue. And then... that story, that build-up, that boppin' tune. Absolutely iconic. It's a promising sign that this sequel won't suck, Will. As we beam into the game proper, we're greeted by the lovely faces of not 6, but 8 robot masters to contend with. Gotta love those mugshots. It's like we're in the police department looking at a wall of wanted posters for petty criminals. Bubble Man made some old lady slip in a supermarket by forgetting to put up a wet floor sign. Quickman is your average speeding traffic offender. Crashman probably hit Quickman with his car. Metal Man looks like a deranged doctor that cuts people up just for the fun of it. And Flashman? Probably better we don't know. But who to pick first? Well, I feel like doing something healthy and natural this morning, so I'll select Woodman to start this journey. Holy cow, this game's tunes did not have to go this hard. Just listen to the drums and those powerful boops. And that's not the only thing that's been improved here, as the game feels tighter and less slippery. I guess Mega Man finally scrubbed the butter off of his boots. The level itself is a fairly straightforward but high-quality enemy gauntlet filled with all sorts of forest critters, including bats, obese Bugs Bunny, fire-vomiting doggo mini-bosses, and roadrunners. The dev must have watched Looney Tunes before designing the enemies for this level. It culminates in a fight against the eponymous Woodman, which is really false advertising because he should be called Leaf Man the way he whips those things around. And after chopping down this tree, we pluck his leaves to get equipped with the Leaf Shield. Nice that they actually told us as we unlocked a weapon this time around. Now, who would be weak against wood or leaves? Well, Woodman was really slow, so Quickman's out of the picture. Bubbleman? Nah. I don't think trees like fire, so no Heat Man. Metal Man looks like he just cut down trees as a side job. Crashing into a tree is a 50-50 on who wins. Just trust me on that one. Flashman might explain why Woodman is, never mind about that joke. But a tree does grow upwards, into the air. So it must be Airman. Another level, another boppin' tune with the airtime jiggy. This stage is fittingly platforming oriented, as we hop over weird goblin heads that send their offspring after you, commandeer miniature cloud vessels to cross chasms, avoid getting blown off to the earth below, and use the mighty Leaf Shield to vanquish the kids this negligent parent drops on us. These little birdies can get away with it, but when I do it, it's a problem. As I suspected, the Leaf Shield is effective against Airman, but his air will appropriately blow the leaves away, so the trick is using it in between his bouts of sneezing. And we win! But he's a good sport about it, as he left us some free air on his way out. Nice guy. As the victor, we gladly suck up his air shooter for future use. Plus, Santa gifts us with the creatively named Item 2. So who would be weak to air? I mean, everybody's gotta breathe, I guess. Bubbles need air to stay puffed up, but that's not a weakness. Air might just blow out a fire, but this is Heat Man, not Fireman, so not sure about that one. Maybe you could blow air into Quickman's eyes as he's racing by, but I don't know. But wait. Ooh, if a person crashes their car, what happens? The airbags deploy and smack you in the face like birthday balloons. Crashman it is then. Wait, what the heck is Crashman? Like, he has this weird helmet and then drills for hands? Kinda weird, not gonna lie. Yet another catchy composition as we dance the Crash Waltz. Similar to a Megaman stage from Mega Man 1, this level is more vertically oriented, so the vertically oriented air shooter works well against a lot of the enemies. The wood shield works just fine as well. Or you can just cheese it using Item 2. Seriously, could they not have just named it the Megajet or something basic like that? But I need to call CPS against these dastardly abusive birdies at this point, because the air shooter isn't working quite as great as I expected here. Wait. Oh, no! The reward for all my hardship is a lovely E-Tank, which is Mega Man's indispensable, soul-refreshing booze. After dealing with some weirdo, spinny, hoppy bots, it's time to take down Crashman, and it's a heck of an intense fight. But I love how you dictate the pace of the fight yourself. He'll only shoot when you shoot, so you have to determine the best time to do so. Or you can just absolutely blow him away with the air shooter. That works too. And we loot this car crash site to pick up the Crash Bomb. For the next Robot Master, who would be most vulnerable to a car crash? A doctor spends most of their day in the office, so Metal Man's out. Quickman is likely agile enough to evade oncoming traffic, therefore not a good choice either. But a Flasher would be moving slowly since he's going commando, so let's do the world a favor and put Flashman behind bars. This is the last time I'll mention it for a while, but this music! So good! And this Crystal Cave maze sure is a unique environment. Some paths have goodies, some have enemies, some crush your hopes and dreams with a dead end, and the Crash Bomb is great for blasting through these orange walls for more optimal routes. When you know the best way to go, this stage is pretty straightforward, but it's still fun to run through. But now we're up against the offender himself, and the Crash Bomb is reasonably effective, but not enough to completely prevent Flashman from traumatizing us with his flashing. In spite of this, we successfully arrest this delinquent and snatch his abilities so that we can flash people ourselves. Who would hate being flashed the most? Heatman is pretty hot, so he's probably confident enough not to be bothered by it. Doctors are used to seeing nude people. Bubbles are in baths, which the naked submerge themselves into regularly, so no dice. But a fast person? Even the speedy are easily distracted by a good flashing, so Quickman is our next victim. First off, we use the Hoppy Bopper we just unlocked to nab this extra life, then proceed downwards only to be greeted by some aggressive Lipton noodle soup. Whoa! Whoa! Oh, these are some quick lasers, alright. I got this. Ah! Well, it's cheating time. I'm gonna use my new Time Stopper ability to traumatize the lasers into stopping, allowing me to skip down the massive chasm in peace. Heh. And now I can just flash Quickman using my remaining... Oh crap! I don't have any trademarked naked juice left. Guess I'll just have to take him down the old-fashioned way. It's a tough fight because he's speedier than a coked-up squirrel, but eventually we stop this roadrunner in his tracks, nabbing his mighty perpendicular quick boomerang in the process. 5 bots down and 3 mo to go! From the choices of Metal Man, Heat Man, and Bubble Man, well, Bubbles pop pretty quickly, and things can heat up real quickly, but old Metal Man seems like the best choice here because doctors hate seeing their patients quickly. Our lovely doc lives in an industrial wonderland with plenty of conveyor belts, drills, and crushing thingamajigs. The Time Stopper is particularly effective in freezing all these things, so it comes much recommended to avoid being smashed and ground up into mega powder. There's some goofy looking bots here, like these annoying creepy crawlies, weird circus performers, and stack-a-block bots. But the quick boomerang works pretty well against them. It also works quite well against the Mad Doctor himself, but I decided to play it mostly honorable, Buster against Blade. It's a really fun and chaotic fight, a skillful reactive challenge where I'm never quite sure if I'm gonna win, or if I'll get torn to scraps by his deadly metal blades, which, after beating him to death with our perpendicular sticks, we claim for ourselves. As for the remaining two Robot Masters, I'd wager that this spiky blade is pretty effective in popping bubbles, so off we pop to Bubble Man's stage. Lovely waterfall background here. I hadn't mentioned it yet, but the game is a big step up from its predecessor in the looks department, looking colorful and charming, but crisp as a tender chicken. It's quite attractive looking. Some aggravating frogs that burp children at us? What is it with these parents launching their kids at us here? Is it some kind of analogy for how Asian parents treat their kids? Who knows? It doesn't take too long for us to dip our toes into the water though, having to hop around while avoiding dangerous spiky ceilings. Plenty of wet, crustaceous enemies come to greet us, including Mr. Krabs of all people. But we turn them all into chum with the help of the mighty Metal Blade, including Bubble Man himself, who we pop without too much resistance. He leaves behind some bubble lead for us to play with. Now, who would some bubbles be effective against? Well, we only have one left anyways, but some watery bubbles should put out a fire, so Heat Man is last on the menu as our last-minute dessert. At this point, we've got so many weapons, nothing can stand in our way, really. Air Shooter, Leaf Shield, Flash Stopper, Bubble Lead. Maybe not. The Crash Bomb is great for reducing the difficulty of this disappearing block section, but it won't help so much with this disappearing block section. I'm actually doing pretty well here. Wait, what? That's so cheap! Pull a fast one on me, will ya? Alrighty then, I'll gladly return the favor. Megajet, deploy! Heat Man himself is a pretty straightforward boss. Pretty repetitive too, actually. So, Bubble Lead! And with that, he's looking like heated up leftovers, and he passes on the atomic fire, which sounds like it'll be awesome, right? But now that we've busted all of Wily's spots, it's time to raid his fortress and take him down for good. Good gracious, that music! Remixed 1,000 times in 1,000 ways, arguably even more iconic than the intro music. You just know that you're here to rip your way through negligent parents, Lipton noodle soup, and all other manner of baddies with your merciless metal blade. 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 Oh, and now we can test out the atomic fire, and it kinda sucks. The floating flopper gets put to good use here, right before a dramatic encounter with a ferocious medieval dragon. Wily was cooking with this one. But fortunately, ancient weapons like slingshots and boomerangs are effective in slaying this mythical beast. Next, we ride our jet across a sea of spikes to nab some extra goodies before facing off against a colony of rabid flying bots, which actually plays out pretty similarly to the Yellow Devil fight from Mega Man 1, but much more forgiving. Bubble Lead works well to drown these impudent, pesky little flies. In the third fortress level, I wisely used 2 of my crash bombs to get a refill for 2 crash bombs, before skipping across the water and using the pause trick to cheatily slow down my descent. This culminates in a fight against a massive reincarnation of Guts Man. Come to think of it, Wily seems oddly obsessed with him.
Maybe the creepy old man likes big boys, if you know what I'm saying.
The bubble lead gets put to good use here in combing out the ground for false floors before we get put into platforming peril with some annoying stalker bots. I'll just switch to my leaf shield and... whoa. Be careful to hold the up button when I'm pausing on ladders, because changing weapons causes Megaman to lose his grip, and you could very well lose your life in the process. Don't weapon swap and drive, kids. The level culminates in a face-off against the mighty Boo Beam Trap. No, that's actually their name. And it's an appropriate one, as it's a true beginner's trap. The gimmick here is that you have to use the crash bombs to destroy these doors and blow up the boo beams, but you only have enough ammo to destroy certain doors, and you'll need to navigate around others using your handy items. It's not actually very difficult, but if you don't have full weapon energy coming in, you're screwed, no two ways about it. All this would have been largely negated if they had just, I don't know, put a bunch of ammo refills outside the door, but no. You just gotta remember to not use crash bombs much during the Fortress levels. A crappy design choice, if you ask me. Now it's time for some boss rematches, but rather than the linear boss refights of Mega Man 1, there's a room filled with teleporters where each one you choose transports you to a specific robot master, making it more random and fun. And I had a blast demolishing enemies with their weakness weapons, as it makes encounters last like 5 seconds each. I just felt so powerful, like I had taken steroids and meth at the same time. Plus, the metal blades are just so OP that an entire half of the roster is weak to it, including Metal Man himself, who just gets one-shotted. He can dish it, but he can't take it, as the cool kids say. Finally, we get our chance to blast Wiley in his snarky, scruffy face. In fact, let's shave that disheveled head with the metal blades, why don't we? His first phase is pretty easy, though part 2 is pretty difficult, only because the hitboxes on these massive bouncy balls are all kinds of whack. Better to just slug it out with the metal blades and use E-tanks if you have to. But this coward slips away after the fight, like Jake Paul after facing Mike Tyson. Wiley slithered off to a creepy, silent underground cavern with only falling red acid to damage you, but you can just run right past it. Oof! Maybe not. Turns out, Dr. Wiley is none other than a space alien. From outer space! What a twist. Nothing works against this guy, though. Not even the mighty metal blades. Maybe atomic fire will work? Leaf shield? Quick boomerang? No, not the... Wait, what? The bubbles work, but the metal chainsaw doesn't? Maybe it's like that M. Night Shyamalan movie where the aliens can't stand water? Whatever. Just as we finish off his extraterrestrial hiney, he... I'm gonna need to see a doctor for my hearing after that. But at least we beat Wiley, who was apparently using a machine to mimic being an alien. Which makes zero sense because, how long was he going to fake being one anyways? With the day saved, Mega Man marches through the 4 seasons, which probably took quite a while, and he eventually makes his way back home, taking off his mega helmet so he can finally get that haircut he wanted. Mega Man 2 is a fantastic game. It's got great visuals, a front-to-back phenomenal soundtrack, great bosses and weapons, and much improved gameplay with a variety of well-designed levels. It's not entirely perfect, as there's a few cheap difficulty spikes here and there, but it really is amazing otherwise. There's no doubt in my mind that it's one of the finest 8-bit titles ever crafted, and it's well worthy of its legendary reputation. It's absolutely one of my favorite Mega Man games. But for me, the real question is, why is Mega Man 2 in particular held in such high regard within the Mega Man franchise, when there's a small nation's worth of titles available today? On the NES alone, there's an entire hexology of quality games for the system, and most of them have great soundtracks, bosses, weapons, and levels too. Mega Man 2 certainly gets credit for firmly grasping the 8-boss formula, polishing things up, and establishing the franchise as a whole, and many of the sequels arguably get some flack for not substantially advancing that formula. But if you consider Mega Man 2 apart from its impact, does it still have the secret sauce? My answer? Absolutely. If I were to sum up why in one word, it would come down to energy. The game is a passion project the devs willingly worked on in their spare time, and it shows in the final product. Nothing is more emblematic of this than the title sequence, with the marvelous upbeat symphony matching the visual excitement of Mega Man's introduction to the audience. From there on, the game doesn't let up, with phenomenal music and incredibly well-paced gameplay all throughout the remainder of the game, from the initial 8 stages to its thrilling fortress raid. It just never loses that energy, high-quality design, or sense of purpose, ensuring it remains one of the best balanced Mega Man experiences out there, while also being challenging but fun throughout. Most Mega Man games stumble in some way or the other with the quality of the music, the weapon selection, wily stages, or some other aspect. But Mega Man 2 really is just strong across the board, and I would easily recommend it to anybody trying to get into the series. Which isn't to say that I don't love many of those other games. In fact, there are some other entries in the series which I might just prefer over it, but much of that comes down to taste and preference. And the series has such a high bar of quality that even some of the lesser games are a good time. But I'm getting ahead of myself a bit, and we'll get into those other games in due time. For now, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you for the next mega experience.